Greetings, everyone, and welcome. If you're live, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, this Wednesday evening, I hope you're having a wonderful week. Those of you that saw my little rant about the New York Football Giants, I'm a little bit over that, though it still stings. Although my New York Knicks are opening up tonight. But I don't think you're here for that. I have one of the most dynamic kind of presentations that I've been working on. And again, I want feedback. I want disagreement. I want to learn. I do not think I have all the answers. And always say in that one day, that family office graveyard, please bury me in that white belt. So over engineered structures, under defended, a unique choice of words, operations. Like many things, I'm focused on the super rich and single family offices, but what I'm talking about applies to so many different things from MFOs to entrepreneurs to those that service the community. I'll have some other commentary and updates after my little sequilatory. And again, I encourage for the live audience to interact. I think this will be a very interesting one. Without further ado, I'm getting better at getting right to the point. Again, over engineered and under defended. I could give an example of the $50 million illusion costing families effectively everything. So, your family office, really any enterprise, runs just like a Swiss watch. The org chart, of course, pristine. The advisor roster reads like, I don't know, a Davos VIP. You have 7 trust structures, 2 offshore entities, a 147-page estate plan, drafted, of course, by a white shoe law firm. And you are catastrophically often exposed. The brutal reality: most family offices are simultaneously over engineered and under defended. Sophisticated structures, but mediocre execution. World class advisors providing incremental value, sure, while fundamental vulnerabilities compound silently. You built a fortress with magnificent gates, but you left the back door unlocked. So, the over engineer trap. I've witnessed this pattern across hundreds of my 20 years of family offices. Complexity mistaken for sophistication, and activity often really confused with progress. Credentials are no substitute for competence. So, what are the symptoms of over engineering? Structural theater, multiple entities in trust created because, well, I don't know, everyone does it. Not really necessarily because your family needs them. And each layer adds what? Compliance cost, operational friction, and complexity may add more opportunities for failure. You're paying what, 6, 7 figures annually to maintain structures that often provide zero additional protection or tax benefit. What I call advisor proliferation. Imagine 17 specialists on retainer, tax attorneys who never met your estate planners, investment advisors unaware of your trust structures, everyone optimizing their narrow domain while nobody orchestrates the whole. You're conducting an orchestra where each musician plays a different symphony. Now, document graveyards. Oh, we all know about those. Binders full of policies nobody follows, strategic plans gathering dust, board meeting minutes documenting decisions that are never implemented. You've confused, again, documentation with execution, mistaking the map really for the territory. Now, let's talk about technologies stagflation. 6 figure investments or more in platforms that probably does really everyone really understand them or use them? Integration projects perpetually, 90% complete. Systems that create reports, well, no one reads, while critical information remains scattered across email, spreadsheets, loosely what I would define as institutional memory. Governance paralysis, yet another one. Committees that debate, meetings that inform but never decide. Approval processes designed to prevent action masquerading as thoughtful deliberation. You've built you build structures that feel and in their own way are sophisticated, but function as really institutional paralysis. Now, I could go over there's the economics of over engineering. Considering a family office managing half a billion, 12 employees, 3 to 4 million in cost, 8 external advisors on retainer, another 1.5 million, multiple, we'll call it 6 legal entities requiring maintenance. Well, let's throw that up another 500,000, 3 technology platforms. Here's the key part with minimal utilization. I don't know, another 400,000. I think you're getting the point. Quarterly board meetings producing really no decisions. I have a lot to say about boards, but you get the big picture. So the opportunity cost in that example is immeasurable. The total visible costs, what did I just add up? Probably about 6 million. Total value creation, probably debatable. Most of this spending, this is key. Most of this spending optimizes for yesterday's problems while ignoring tomorrow's threats. Now, what I call the under-defense crisis. While families obsess over basis points and tax optimization, they ignore vulnerabilities that could truly destroy them, sometimes maybe more metaphorically, but overnight. The categories of catastrophic exposure. Well, let's start with what I call cyber sovereignty neglect. Your family's financial life exists on centralized platforms that you don't control, banking systems vulnerable, well, to many things, including government seizure, investment accounts accessible to hackers, estate plans, you don't think, stored on servers subject to ransomware. Okay, we'll call this the 2 a.m. scenario. Your primary custodian experiences a technical issue. A couple of days ago, AWS went down. Your accounts, that real life, by the way, your accounts are frozen, your liquidity evaporates, your options really disappear. Most families discover their cyber vulnerabilities when they're already victims. And by then, the damage could be permanent. So what I may define as geographic concentration risk. You have 87% of your wealth in one country's jurisdiction. Your trust structure is all domiciled in the same state. Your operating businesses concentrated in markets vulnerable. And sometimes your investments, your private investments, to regulatory change. Don't forget about the Cyprus principle, as I call it. Was it 2013? Sophisticated investors watched their bank deposits confiscated to recapitalize failing banks. Well, it can't happen here, you say. Oh, that's not a risk management strategy. Geographic diversity isn't paranoia, it's portfolio construction for the post-stability world. Now, there is something I haven't spoken too much about for about 2 years. I did something on it 2 years ago. It's known as a threat surface blindness. You don't know what you don't know, and what you don't know can destroy you. Imagine all realities. Are you ready? Your family's movements tracked through mobile devices. Your estate planning strategies discussed in unsecured emails. Your business vulnerabilities obvious to anyone with Google. Your trust beneficiaries' social media, broadcasting, targets, even geolocations. You'll be shocked what bad people could do. Your vendors and advisors lacking proper vetting. Your succession plans dependent on individuals that could get disabled, die, disappear, change their mind, go rogue tomorrow? Have you ever looked into, I spoke about this a little bit at my Palm Beach event a couple of months ago, Markovian risk. The threat surface beyond what you can see directly can eliminate any chance for family continuity. And no, most families, of course, haven't conducted a comprehensive threat assessment. They're flying blind through increasingly hostile airspace. What I call succession mythology. And I hinted at this before. Yeah, you have estate planning documents, but do you have actual succession capability? Your rising generation can't articulate your investment philosophy. Your key executives may have no documented successors. Your institutional knowledge, one of my favorite words, lives in individuals' heads, but not in systems. Your family governance exists on paper, but rarely, admit it, rarely in practice. So the tragic pattern we all have heard: Generation one builds the wealth through capability, maybe a little bit of luck. Generation two manages wealth through sometimes inertia, and generation three dissipates wealth through incompetence. No, that is not perfect. No, that does not happen all the time. But it's enough of a pattern to have sayings and phrases around the world continuous with it, and what I've seen in my travels. Documents don't transfer capability. One more time, your documents don't transfer capability. Systematic development could, and most family offices have no program for it. Operational fragility. Your family office, I am sure, when I do my assessments and consulting, and even just some conversations with my family office members of my community, your family office has single points of failure everywhere. One person knows where all the documents are. One vendor controls critical infrastructure. One service provider handles tax compliance. One attorney drafted all legal structures. One CIO manages all investment decisions. Have you ever thought? Well, how about the bus factor? How many people would need to get hit by a bus before your family office collapses into dysfunction? For most families, just reality, it's probably one or two. So I look at this, or could consider it. Boy, I'm putting on my best Peter Drucker here. Asymmetric warfare reality. Here's what keeps me awake. Sophisticated, and they are, attackers exploit underdefended, going back to my title, underdefended targets, not under-engineered ones. Criminals don't care. I was going to use another word. It begins with an S and ends with a T. They don't care about your org chart. It's elegance. They care about your access vulnerabilities. Regulators don't admire trust structures. They identify your compliance gaps. Family members don't respect governance documents. They'll exploit. There's always going to be one operational weakness. So thinking a little bit about what I could use a cup of tea. It's going to have to wait. What I call the modern threat hierarchy. Maybe tier one, kind of the script kiddies, basic phishing attacks, social engineering, public information exploitation. Your current defense, I'll be a little kind, could be adequate. Tier two, professional criminals, coordinated wire fraud, ransomware, identity theft, vendor compromise. Your current defense, more than likely, my experience, inefficient. Now, tier three, we're getting big time now. Are you ready? The state actors, the elite operators, comprehensive targeting, social manipulation, zero-day exploits, complete behavior profiling. Your current defense is 95% of you, non-existent. Most family offices do adequately defend against tier one and remain vulnerable or too vulnerable? Because what's the negative that could happen? Your job, the family imploding, capital being lost, brand, the embarrassment, vulnerable to tier two and tier three. The verification imperative, what I would say. You cannot defend what you have not inventoried. You cannot protect what you haven't tested. The questions your family office probably can't answer. It's kind of okay. You're identifying these challenges. Now we could address them. That's better than ignoring them. I'll go back to my word earlier, information sovereignty. Can you produce, yet this is a question, can you produce a complete account inventory in 30 minutes without calling anyone? If your primary custodian froze access, how long until you have working capital? If your primary advisor disappeared, would the operations continue or smoothly? Where are your estate planning documents really actually stored? And can you access them right now? Now, threat surface reality. What does a hostile actor learn about your family from 30 minutes of their talented level of public research? Which employees have access to what information, and is that appropriate? Does someone hold all the keys to the kingdom? Which vendors could compromise your operations if someone in there, if they were compromised, were malicious? What happens if the person who handles everything, back to that one again, the keys to the kingdom, becomes unavailable? So think about operational resilience. If your office building became inaccessible tomorrow, could operations continue? If your technology systems failed, remember AWS was down for a lot of people. If your technology systems failed, what information is generally backed up and accessible? If your most critical employee left with only 24 hours notice, or God forbid, died, like what breaks? If legal or regulatory action froze specific accounts, what's your liquidity plan? Most families have never asked these questions. Now, in Palm Beach, me and Daniel Zamora, we went over some of these things. And I know it's a bit of the fire hose in the face. I understand that. Most families have never asked these questions systematically. Most families would fail this assessment catastrophically. But you could do something about that. The elite defense architecture, probably the fancy word that I'll call it, the families I work with who are genuinely protected share common characteristics. They moved beyond over-engineering to real actual defense. So let's talk a little bit about the principles of elite family office defense. God, I am a family office nerd. Redundancy over elegance. Elite families prioritize backup systems over primary sophistication. They maintain multiple banking and custodial relationships across jurisdictions, redundant access to critical information, both physical and digital, cross-trained personnel capable of assuming critical functions, documented procedures accessible if key people are unavailable, offline backups of digital systems and information, alternative communication channels if primary systems fail. We have to sometimes think about simplicity over complexity. Elite families eliminate unnecessary structures that create maintenance burden without really providing value. So you need to be ruthless. You need to ask ruthlessly internally. What would we eliminate if we built this from scratch today? That is a great exercise, I promise you. What exists because we've always done it rather than because it works? And what creates compliance cost without providing like protection or benefit? What generates activity and reporting without really, truly driving decisions? I think it's important to do testing over assumptions. Elite family offices stress test their defenses rather than assuming that they're going to work. They'll do what some military term red team exercises, attempting to compromise security, succession simulations where key personnel temporarily step away, crisis, what some call tabletop scenario or exercises. It's a consulting term, forcing real time decision making, third party penetration testing of cyber defenses, annual threat service assessments by specialists, really talented people, some of them who've compromised foreign governments and corporations. Capability, capability over credentials. Elite families prioritize actual competence over impressive resumes. You need to evaluate advisors from the perspective that I'm talking about today, the ability to identify vulnerabilities that you haven't considered. A track record would help defending against sophisticated threats, not just checking compliance boxes. How about a willingness to deliver uncomfortable truths rather than comfortable reassurance? Yes, I could be a little disagreeable at times, and sometimes that probably hurts me in relationships. I think it's good to be disagreeable, challenge the status quo, don't get caught in an echo chamber, and constantly look for meritocracy in the best solution, no matter who it's from. Understanding how elite attackers think and how they operate. And how about integration with other advisors? Very important. Integration with other advisors rather than siloed specialization. So about 2 years ago, me and another gentleman, uh, incredibly talented. I'm a little bit of the overseer and the quarterback. He's the one that actually amazing. It's called a 72-hour threat assessment or threat surface assessment, more applicable. In my 2 decades of working with ultra wealthy families, I've seen one intervention change everything. This 72-hour threat surface assessment. Over 3 days, imagine specialists with backgrounds, special forces, three-letter agencies, elite security operations, simulate real attacks against your family. Kind of a phase one reconnaissance over the first 24 hours. What information is publicly accessible about family members, assets, locations, and patterns? Who could be connected to who? You'll be surprised. What digital footprints create targeting opportunities? What vendors and relationships create compromise vectors? What behavioral patterns are predictable and exploitable? A phase two, usually over the following 24 hours, more of a scenario development. Craft realistic attack scenarios based on actual threat intelligence. Make them come to life with interaction with the family principal, the members, and the executives. This is how you learn. Identify specific vulnerabilities in physical security, cyber defenses, and operational procedures. Map exploitation paths, and adversary would follow. Determine which threats your current defenses would detect versus miss. And I would probably say the phase three, and keeping it relatively limited over 3 full days, real time red teaming. Execute simulated attacks, testing response capabilities, simultaneous attacks, stress test current crisis decision making under pressure. How you get better. Identify gaps between theoretical plans and actual execution. Demonstrate vulnerabilities through live, real live demonstration with applicable permissions. Man, I've been shocked at sometimes what a lot of these reveal. So, what these assessments will reveal, families consistently discover physical security that sophisticated adversaries bypass effortlessly. It's a little late in the evening. I need another cup of coffee. Cyber defenses that prevent amateur attacks, sure, while professional threats walk right through. Vendor relationships that create enormous compromise vectors. Employee practices that violate probably every security policy, and information stored in ways making it easy for sophisticated attackers. And response plans, if there really are any, that collapse under kind of real crisis pressure points. Again, this comes back a little bit to single points of failure. Effectively throughout really the entire operation. So, although I picked a number, the $50 million realization, I mentioned that earlier, you thought you were defended, you might be. I'm not even saying you are, but maybe that's just delusion. You're wrong. So there's what I call the optimization paradox, the uncomfortable truth about most family office optimization. Again, you're optimizing for problems you don't have while ignoring the actual problems that could be devastating. Not just a basis point or two or 1 or 2% or even single digits, they may be devastating. So to some degree, that's a misallocation of attention. Again, going back to a little bit repetitive, families obsess over what basis points, differences in investment returns, tax optimization, saving a couple of $100,000 annually, governance structures for decision making, technology platforms for portfolio reporting, advisor fee negotiation, saving 10%, all valuable. I understand. But what they ignore, how about geographic concentrated risk? Could be worth tens of millions. Banks, custodians going down, cyber attacks, jurisdictions becoming hostile. It could happen here. Cyber vulnerabilities that could compromise entire financial lives, succession gaps that guarantee wealth dissipation into the next or the rising generations, operational dependencies creating catastrophic single points of failure. So threat surface expansion, nobody's monitoring. The families building generational wealth, they invert kind of this proprietary list. I noticed it a little more with substantial families around the world. Europe, Middle East, Mexico, LATAM. But don't think these things can't happen here. They will. The implementation reality, moving kind of from over-engineered and under-defended to generally protecting, requires confronting, like I said, uncomfortable truths that your current advisors may be well-meaning, but they don't know what they don't know and may not tell you this. Most advisors optimize for, honestly, their relationships, not your protection. Telling you that your structures are overcomplicated and your defense is inadequate may threaten their positions. The advisors who will actually protect you are often the ones that you may not be working with or may be underappreciated if you are, because they're not often polite. What did I say earlier? Forget about being agreeable and kissing ass. Just get rid of that. Point out the vulnerabilities. Truth two, real defense often costs less than over-engineering. I don't know, eliminate three unnecessary entities, save 150,000 annually, consolidate redundant advisors, save hundreds of thousands, simplify complicated structures. AI is now making technology more incredible, easier to use, and more cost effective. And vendor negotiation, I could probably save any billion-dollar family office $1 million in like 2 or 3 days. It's really not that hard. So, yeah, to do a comprehensive threat assessment with the right top level talent that you're probably not accessing at the moment, some of these people are literally practically off the grid. It's not cheap. It's a lot of money, but not as much as the example that I just saved you on. In that example, yeah, it may be early six figures, annual maintenance. It will be less than what you could save that a good review of your current operations and systems would really uncover. I can practically guarantee that. The net outcome is spending less while becoming more genuinely protected. We're heading to the home stretch. Truth three: the families who wait maybe will pay catastrophically. Every family office that's been compromised by cyber attacks, regulatory action, or operational failure had opportunities to fix these vulnerabilities before catastrophe struck. Often, they just think it won't happen to them. In a long enough time frame, they're going to be wrong. The question isn't whether you'll face these sophisticated threats in today's world, especially now more than ever. The question is whether you'll be ready when they arrive. The binary choice: you can continue optimizing your over engineered structures while remaining fundamentally vulnerable, or you can strip away some of that complexity that often provides no value and invest in defenses that truly actually matter. The families who will dominate for the remainder of this century, and it's going to get very, very interesting. Massive geopolitical upheaval, AI, job loss, what it's going to do to public companies, man, we're going to save that one for another discussion. Like, we are in for a wild ride the next 5 to 10 years. Robotics, I could go on. The families who dominate won't often be the most sophisticated on paper. They'll be the ones who stripped away sophistication theater and built genuine anti-fragility, operational resilience, family capacity and capability. Over-engineering is actually expensive theater. Under defense is catastrophic exposure. You need to choose differently. So I've been busy the last 2 years. I haven't spoken as much about the threat surface assessment, various talent and teams that I coordinate and work with. And I want to get back. I mean, I got so much on my plate now. But you have to really understand, is your family office generally protected or just expensive? The families who discover their vulnerabilities through a professional assessment survive. The families who discover them through actual attacks, well, that's the problem. They don't. The only thing worse than being under-engineered and under-defended is effectively knowing or waking up to some of these realities and not doing anything about it. Now, I will be having probably one or two guests on before we wrap up the year that will do deeper dives into some of this. And I really enjoy this work. Some people say I'm a doomsdayer. I'm not. I just look at the realities. Look how fragile things are politically here in the US. Around the world, it's often worse. The Cold War between the US and China, literal wars going on, future internal strife and attacks, bioweaponry, the advent of AI, people losing jobs, Mamdani becoming mayor of New York. I'm just touching the surface. Wow. So for those families that have the resources, that are a family office, these are things that need to be addressed. They're not as sexy and fun as some of the other things like investing and investing in AI and all that. I understand that. But mitigating risk for a family that already has incredible wealth, isn't that important? How are you going to have family continuity without that being one of the foundations and the backbone? So now, yes, this is beyond just being a member of my private community SFO continuity, but I negotiate and give special opportunities on this private consulting with me and kind of my dream team on this for families that are. Uh, could an assessment be done before actual decision to implement and relatively cost effective? Probably. Reach out to me a little bit one on one. So I see some comments came in. Yes, I'm recording this live on a Wednesday night. Yes, tomorrow, meaning Thursday, I'm traveling into New York. I'm moderating a session with 4 investing single family offices on basically what do you think about the economy and how are you investing? So it's going to be great. I'll get there at about 12 noon, session I think at 2:30. I'll be there through cocktails and I will have to head out, but I really look forward to it. So I did promise a couple of other quick updates. It's been a very, very, very busy time for me. After our second biggest program of the year, primarily for members in New York in mid-September, I was, as I mentioned a couple of nights ago, kind of wrapping up 3 books simultaneously. My members get first and exclusive access, but they all will be Kindled, so available and very cost effective. I might even do them for just a couple of bucks come early in the year. One of them is on AI, and I tell you, 3 or 4 months is gonna gonna be like 2 years. I already had to rewrite it from. I finished it in late August. I created my own app. I'm doing coding without really knowing how to code. It's incredible. It's amazing what's going on now. And the things I spoke about here relate to one of the books is the Family Office Playbook. There's nothing like it in the family office world. My members get immediate access to it and conversations with me. When I Kindle that, the number of pages in that is probably going to be about 550. It asks 850 questions, various subjects, checklist, commentary, things to think about. And I've read and enjoyed so many books in the community, and so many people are more talented natural writers than me. I'm jealous. But in terms of putting together something that is incredibly practical and useful, and there's nothing else quite like it, I'm so excited to have done that and offer that. The latter of the 3 books I'll talk a little bit more about in November relates to actually an app that I built. And I even got up on the App Store. How a old 60-year-old like me with no help from any AI integration engineers. If I could do it, you could do it. And if it didn't need to be in the App Store, I could have done it way, way quicker and easier. What's happening now with technology and AI is utterly shocking. As Andreessen states, it's underhyped. Underhyped. What's going to be happening with the advent, with some of the new acts and policies that have passed with the president, with David Sachs pushing things along, what you're going to see in stable coins, what you're going to see in AI and AI agents and 24/7 trading and so many interesting things. We are right at the cusp, and I don't want you to fall behind. Now, joining my membership and immersing yourself November 5th and 6th in person in New York in my masterclass is going to be the most immediate. And the instructors I got in that are world-class family principals, executives, and incredible tech entrepreneurs. It's amazing. It's not cheap. I understand that. You get what you pay for. So there is lots going on. I may see some of you in New York tomorrow. Those of you that sign up for the masterclass, I do talk about it on angelorobles.com. And my members, you can always, always reach out to me. Again, I don't think they use me enough. I want to be used more. And I got so much output on content that I wrote, including kind of this summer, that I'm just dying to get out and really save most of it in the hands-on part for my members. And 2 new 400 plus side PowerPoints I'll be converting into first member first masterclasses, creating a top 1% family office, and related somewhat to this conversation, sovereign risk and disaster preparedness. So 2026 is going to be, wow, it's going to be great. And I'm already putting some early touches on my marquee program, really over effectively a week in Palm Beach. You'll have to join me at Churchill Cigar Bar one of the night when we'll host about 40 families. It's going to be so much fun. We got a lot going on, a lot of incredible guests and speakers, definitely more on this subject. It's just a busy, busy time. And I want all of you to be awesome and great. And I'm telling you, and I get it, I'm older than probably 3/4 of my audience. If you don't quite understand what's happening in AI, what's going to happen in energy and robotics, what's happening with the advent of stable coins, what that means and how that's going to intertwine, and broadly crypto, with real world tokenization, how everything is going to change. Man, this is so much to talk about. Jordy Fisher, who I love, spoke about some of this at my New York program. We'll have him back on as a digital guest. And I got to so many incredible people. If you're a member, I'm going to introduce you to the most incredible people on earth. It could change your life. So on that note, one more comment. Some of you have noted I did have an issue with my website about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I thought we had it solved, but some of you that may go on angelorobles.com from a very corporate site at work, maybe using heavy Cisco security systems, there still is an issue accessing angelorobles.com for maybe 10% of you. I'm on it with the tech team this Friday. We hope to have it resolved. It's relatively a minor SSL issue with some advanced level of securities like that. We should have it corrected. Let's call it mid next week. But you could always text me. I don't care who you are. Well, if you're a member, you get extra love, but it's 203-570-2898. My email is angelo@angelorobles.com. And most of you, especially from home or your phone, are going to have no problem accessing angelorobles.com. We're getting lots of further inquiries about the masterclass. It will absolutely be the last one for this year. And I may not do another one on the AI family office masterclass until possibly late first quarter into second quarter of next year. Now is the time. You got me creating internal sovereign systems, my own apps and coding, AI agents. Again, if I could do it, you're going to learn this effectively in 2 days. I promise you that. November 5th and November 6th. One or two questions may have, let's see, jumped on website from the UK. Kenny, tell me it's working. I would appreciate it. So if you're able to get on angelorobles.com from the UK, that would be awesome. It usually is more from, like, imagine a Goldman Sachs, a big corporate firm, that my tech team has to do a little bit of work. I'm taking a look at some other commentary. Okay, just right to app list. Kenny, you're great. I love that you ask a lot of questions. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to go watch the final quarter of the New York Knicks, their first game of the year. Thank you, Kenny. You said it's working. So no excuses. You all could go to angelorobles.com, or maybe 99% of you, join, sign up to the masterclass, be a part, immersed in what I'm doing. I have respect for the industry. I learn from them. I just think I'm unique and I provide a different value. Family Office Exchange is wonderful. Camden Institute of Private Investors, Tiger 21, all very valuable groups. In Europe, you have incredibly talented people like Francois Beautois. You have incredible people, Christian Stewart and others, especially on family governance in Asia. And as I'm getting more and more ingrained in the Middle East, incredibly talented people. I learned so much. I'm so fortunate, but I might have a little bit of something to bring to the table as well, besides being Mr. Controversy and disagreeable, because I get into arguments and I talk geopolitics. Like, Isn't it too boring and vanilla? Don't you want someone to mix it up a little bit? You should see parts of my last event in New York. Really active, cordial, and friendly, but active debating of important subjects. Mamdani for mayor of New York, geopolitical issues, US and China, AI, threat or friend. And we're not perfect. Sometimes the answers aren't black and white, they're gray. We all learn from other people that have various levels of talents and intellect, but that doesn't mean that their insight, their perspective is not valuable and they deserve to be listened to. It's a really, really both scary and exciting time. And today, maybe in my presentation, marrying a little bit of Peter Drucker with more of a modern threat assessment, uh, the more you have, I guess you could say, the more you have to lose. Remember that. I'm in this to hopefully for you to fulfill your desires, to have family continuity, to help the rising generation be engaged. And they're the ones that understand when I talk about AI and want to be involved. They should also be coming to what I'm doing November 5th and 6th at my AI Family Office Masterclass. Well, thank you, Kenny. Like I'm gonna just throw like roses at you. You're so kind in your comments, and I think you are on live on my LinkedIn. And did you say the UK? So it's like what? Yeah, I guess it is like 2 a.m. That's what you meant. 2 a.m. where you are. Wow, you're like, are you one of those guys that could only sleep 3 to 4 hours a day? Like I think Elon and President Trump and others. I wish I had that capability. There are blocks of time where I do. There's other days, man, I need 8 or 9 hours. So kudos to you. You're out there working hard. Love it. Everyone, I think that's enough of me. This old man's going to have a green tea, watch a little bit of the rest of the Knicks game. I already smoked my daily cigar. Gonna maybe my New Year's resolution, I'll try to cut back to 3 or 4 days a week. And I'm very mindful of my health. For an old man, I'm pretty careful about my routine, my supplements, what I eat and exercise. Some of you have asked me to share some of that. I don't know if that really fits into a family office or geopolitical or investment conversation, but happy to talk offline about it. And it may relate to issues around biotech, longevity, and what impact is that going to have on a wealth transition? And what is it going to do to investing, the globe, the resources? So it does, from that perspective, tie in to some of the things that we talk about in the community. Yes, one of you have asked, given a little bit of my interest in streaming and things like that, am I open? I don't know. Do I want to do a 6 or 12 hour continuous about a variety of different subjects? Like I may be a little too old for that. The young streamers, the Kai Sanats and the iSpeeds or whatever and all, those guys could go 24 hours. They're loaded up on caffeine. Like that, I may be 30 years past my prime in terms of doing that. So, everyone, thank you all for your comments. I hope you enjoyed it. Please reach out to me and just take the step, join, be a part of what I'm building. I got incredible, incredible families. I'm so blessed and lucky. I appreciate all of you individuals and families, and I want to be of incredible service to you and provide value. Again, AngeloRobles.com. Everyone, have a wonderful evening. And Kenny, get a little bit of sleep, my friend. Enjoy. Thank you. Bye.